I would like to congratulate India on landing on the dark side of the moon. I would also like to now invite India to return the £2.3 billion foreign aid money that we sent them between 2016 and 2021. We're also set to give them £57 million next year. I think the British taxpayer should keep hold of that, don't you? We should not be giving money to countries with a space programme. As a rule, if you can afford to fire a rocket at the dark side of the moon, you shouldn't be coming to us with your hand out. India reportedly has 229 million people living in poverty. According to the UN, it's the highest number anywhere in the world. It's also the fifth largest economy in the world with an annual GDP of around 3.75 trillion. It's the highest number anywhere in the world. It's also the fifth largest economy in the world with an annual GDP of around $3.75 trillion. Why are we paying to help poverty-stricken Indians when their own government won't bother?
Do you think this is the instance of stupidity of foreign media? Half of Twitter lost it and so many YouTube videos were made since then criticizing this news anchor when all he did was playing around this old wound just for the sake of TRP. Will it help to not call poverty-stricken India and just say poverty-stricken Bharat? India is a name given by the British. 3 days before Sehwag tweeted this, and even though I used to admire him in cricket pitch, that's why I think cricketers should stick to cricket unless they really have broad spectrum of knowledge and understanding to comment on other matters. Or they or their team at least do proper research before tweeting. But why blame him when a widely distributed post in social media is doing rounds that India got its name from British after independence? The word India originally comes from the Indus, called Sindhu in Sanskrit, and about 2,500 years ago, Iranians and Greeks started calling it Hindus or Indos, and the land to the east of the river was called India. The name Hindustan is thought to be derived from there. Since the 19th century, the Rig Veda has been used to reconstruct early Indian history. The book is mainly concerned with religion and philosophy, but it provides a clear idea about the geography. To the east, the book talks of the Ganges River, and to the west of Kabul River. It also mentions presence of Himalaya in the north and seas in the south. Most interesting of all, Rig Veda speaks repeatedly of a greatest of all rivers called the Saraswati and used 45 Rig Veda hymns to shower praise on that river. No other river or geographical feature comes close in importance in that book, including the Ganges, which is barely mentioned twice, and the Indus, although referred to as a mighty river, wasn't given much reverence. Now, there is no living river in the modern India that fits the description, and this has led some historians to argue that the Saraswati is a figment of poetic imagination, while others try to identify it with the Helmand River of Afghanistan. However, the Rig Veda itself places Saraswati between the Yamuna and the Sutlej, or the ancient Shatadru River, and without any doubt, there's only one river that fits the description, the Ghaggar. Even though its riverbed is mainly dry today, but satellite and ground surveys unequivocally tell us that this once was a mighty river, which Harappan civilization also identifies as a drying river, contrary to Rig Veda where Saraswati entered the sea in full flow. That means we could be actually dealing with a culture that coincides with the early Harappan age. Harappans were a multi-ethnic society, rather like today's India. The Rig Vedic people could well have been part of this bubbling mix. The book also mentions about the Battle of 10 Kings that occurred on the banks of the Ravi River in Punjab. It appears that 10 powerful tribes ganged up against the Bharata tribe, an eastern tribe from what is now Haryana. Despite the odds, the Bharatas crushed confederacy in the battle, possibly due to access of superior bronze weapons, since their territory included India's best copper mines. Even today, the second largest copper mine of India is situated at Khetri along the Rajasthan-Haryana border. Formidable Bharatas grew in power and started influencing lands outside their control, and considering that Rig Veda is full of praise of Bharata tribe, it is possible that they consciously consolidated their position by encouraging the compilation of Vedas. Their real genius may lie in the fact that they didn't confine themselves, but deliberately included sages from other tribes, including those of defeated tribes. Thus, the hymns of the sage Vishwamitra, the great rival of Vasishtha, are given great importance in this compilation. In doing so, Bharata has created a template of civilizational assimilation and accommodation rather than imposition. That's a powerful idea that eventually allowed people in faraway places like Bengal and Kerala to identify with an ancient Haryanvi tribe. This is the original reason why the Bharatas remain relevant today in the name by which Indians have called this country since ancient times, Bharatvarsha, or the land of Bharatas. In time, it would come to denote the whole subcontinent. Now, just because Bharat harks back to ancient roots, it doesn't mean India has no such mythological past. For instance, ancient Greek historian and father of Indian history, Megasthenes, in his piece Indica during the 4th century BCE, when he was an ambassador to the Mauryan Empire, gave detailed accounts of the nation under this name. I don't remember most of the detailed accounts of history that I was taught during school days, but my mother, being an ardent student of history, imparted lessons with great care. So when I researched in the present time by referring to several ancient texts and history books, especially this fantastic book called Land of the Seven Rivers, written by Rhodes scholar Sanjeev Sanyal, things of bygone era became reasonably clear. When Alexander invaded India in 326 BC, he already started calling this place India, including the region beyond Indus. Similarly, the roots of Bharat lies in Purana. I'm no historian, and I think only a team of expert historians and archaeologists appointed by an independent body devoid of any political influence should decide whether India needs a new name. But one thing I can say with absolute certainty is that British didn't name this country India. In 2014, I think, where Sadhguru was giving interview to Kiran Bedi, and where he mentioned that because the British did not want to give India any proper identity, that's why they have given a name which does not have any meaning. That's what he mentioned in that interview. You can go and check that. I just do not want to put it here. Moreover, my question is different. Look, if this government decides to change the name to Bharat to get over from its colonial hangover, you should ask yourself why during the beautification process in preparation of G20 summit, hundreds of houses and small roadside businesses have been destroyed, displacing thousands of people in our capital. What are we ashamed of? What we don't want foreign media and delegation to see? If you are truly proud of your origin, then you shouldn't have anything to hide, right? Also, we freshly went to the moon, a colossal feat within a modest budget from a huge diverse country plagued with many problems, and we should definitely celebrate that. When a BBC News anchor questioned India's priority, we got very touchy-feely about it, and an old video was resurfaced and distributed as if he said this on Chandrayaan-3 mission. He said, and I quote, "I have to ask you, because some people have been thinking about this, should India, a country that lacks a lot of infrastructure, has extreme poverty and has more than 700 million people without access to a toilet, really be spending this sort of money on space program? Why only toilet? According to reports of various global organizations, 74.1% of the Indian population cannot afford healthy food. This means that more than 100 crore people in India are bound to eat food without sufficient nutrition. But it's logically wrong in all aspects, if not slightly patronizing, to conclude that such a country shouldn't invest in scientific advancement and space program. Who can say that the next Manibhumik won't rise from abject poverty and play a key role in devising some groundbreaking technology or scientific discovery? Also, when a country advances in science or other areas, that actually trickles down somewhere to boost the overall economy. But my question to you is that if we get enraged by BBC's audacity to highlight our poverty, even after British Raj being the exact reason for our economic situation of today, why simultaneously we are pushing our own people to homelessness to impress the same people? Is India or Bharat or Bharatvarsha, whatever floats your boat, is suffering from Stockholm syndrome at a historical level? I can understand the need of embellishment. We all want to clean our house when there's an anticipated guest visit. And in today's day and age, we may even feel greatly inconvenienced when someone drops by unannounced. We question that person's lack of courtesy. By the way, this trend is also a Western export. Ancient India believed in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? If we are such an empowered nation which transcended the multiplicity of the world, why we are also embarrassed to showcase that yes, before the guest arrived, we dumped clothes on the chair and was playing Jenga with it. I mean, what? Foreign medias, they are so ignorant and absolutely unsmart that they won't understand what is our condition at a ground level. What are we trying to conceal and whom are we trying to fool? Why the Vedanta boldly declares that Brahman alone is, there is no second thing. If anyone feels that she or he or they sees more than one thing, it is all a delusion. The great Indian tradition exhorts us to see clearly that the apparent differences and separations are like virtual image in a mirror. You cannot demolish the virtual image. Have you ever tried bulldozing a mountain reflected in a mirror? If you are able to see through the falsity of multiplicity, you will see oneness. Now, you quote ancient scripture in one situation and you will leave in all other situations. It doesn't work like that, right? In order to achieve the perfect perception of our ancient scriptures, you also need to understand the drishti of oneness that leads to the understanding of Vasudhaiva. Once the illusory layers of coverings are pierced through. Originally, even during Swadeshi movement, there was a spirit of oneness between both of these names, India and Bharat, and it was Bengali novelist and poet, otherwise known as Sahitya Samrat or Emperor of Literature, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, who first painted this country, imagining it as a mother figure, which was later recreated by noted writer and painter Abanindranath Tagore, a nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, with the caption Matri Murti, or image of the mother. And while Abanindranath titled her as Bangomata, or Mother of Bengal, the nationalist feeling it evoked culminated this being Bharat Mata, embodying the spirit of the country and patriotism. So if you truly believe in India or Bharat's roots so passionately, why we use it conveniently? I have a problem with this hypocrisy and duplicitous attitude. Look, personally, I don't care if this country gets officially renamed after 76 years of independence and establishes before the entire world that this country were in collective comatose. After all, Making India was this government's ambitious program, if I'm not mistaken. Also, we should ask ourselves once again, is there a concerted attempt to deflect of the real problems and beauty of this country by creating issues when there's many more serious things, good, bad, and ugly, that need addressing? If you think what happened to Out of the Den, is it now becoming a political channel? Certainly not. And this is not a political video, even though it smells like it. This is the politics of modern jungle. And if you have seen my Ross Island video, you have seen the history that I have shown there, right? Here, while visiting in Ross Island, I questioned that why the name has been changed to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Island. So a certain degree of socio-political awareness is needed for you to become a complete traveler. Otherwise, you will just see the natural beauty, but that's not it is all about, right? Certain places especially have a lot of historical gravitas. And if you do not assimilate that, your understanding and experience of the place can be very cosmetic. I would like to read a little bit from Geoffrey Moorhouse's brilliant book, India Britannica for You, which addresses this complicated relationship India shares with Great Britain. But I think it's high time we get over from this sense of inadequacy and insecurity. Now, of course, there is a huge historical pretext to it, why we still suffer from a sense of, an injustice, a certain wounded ego almost about what has happened. And it is very, very natural because extreme level of injustice has happened with us, right? So there's always a desire to kind of prove others wrong, as if, that look how far we have come, how far we have progressed. When somebody puts you down, when a certain nation or an individual, however it is, it's a very natural instinct to actually prove that person wrong, or that entity or that individual or that country wrong. But it's also a certain vortex of trauma. It's a certain trauma bonding. I think we need to kind of get over from that, and really should not just live in that shadow of what British did to us, but what we can do to ourselves from now onwards. By that, I do not ever mean that we can actually completely brush it away and don't address this. But changing name is a very, very, very cosmetic solution. It had proudly become the biggest democracy in the world, and it was tacitly leader of what the jargon identified as the underdeveloped nation. But it was an industrial country as well as a peasant one, which was organizing its own atomic power within a generation of imperial rule. At the same time, India remained what it had been for at least 5 centuries, a hybrid land spanning the cultures of the Middle East and those of Asia while being supremely and inimitably itself. Every visit I subsequently made to India was to confirm what I had already conjectured before first I went there, that the history of the British in India is something more than an account of conquest and submission, of rebellion and imperial retreat. It is also a story of complicated love-hate relationship that no other two people so vastly different in origin and cultures have ever known. Indians must speak for themselves about the relationship today, but they should know that their country haunts the British still, as nowhere else ever did, as no other place in the future possibly can.
No nation is perfect, but every time I get a glimmer of hope, like Chandrayaan 3, I hear 10 other silly and absurd news that feels like put us back in time. Our country has been blindfolded and lulled into deep slumber, not just by British, and we have to remember that.